The conference room buzzed with chatter as I glanced at my phone, its screen lighting up an incoming call from Emily. I stepped into the hallway, expecting the usual small talk. "How's the trip? When will you be home?" Instead, her voice came through cold and smug. "I'm divorcing you," she said, her tone almost triumphant. "Oh, and I already sold the apartment. So you'll need to figure out where you're going to live." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The audacity of it. The complete lack of remorse. It was almost laughable. My hand tightened around the phone as her words sank in. "You sold the apartment?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "Yep," she said with a dry laugh. "Alex, and I need the money to set up our life together. He deserves better than that tiny place anyway." Alex. The name stung. Not because I didn't see it coming. Oh, I saw it. Emily's late nights, the sudden work trips, the emotional distance. I'd suspected for months that there was someone else. But to hear her say his name so casually, like I was the intruder in their perfect little world, lit fire in my chest. "Sounds good," I replied evenly. No way in hell was I giving her the satisfaction of hearing me crack. "My name is Nick, and up until that phone call, I thought I'd married a woman I could trust. Emily and I had been together for 6 years. We weren't perfect, but I believed in what we had. We worked hard to buy that apartment. A cozy 2-bedroom in the city that I fell in love with the moment I saw it. It wasn't just a home. It was proof of everything we'd built together. Or so I thought. Looking back, the signs were there. Her dismissive attitude when I asked about our finances. The way she brushed off my concerns with that sweet smile and a kiss on the cheek. I always assumed her confidence came from knowing she had everything under control. Turns out, it came from knowing she could manipulate me. But there was one crucial detail she didn't know. The apartment deed had been in my name alone for months. I had it transferred after we refinanced earlier in the year, a move she signed off on without much thought because it meant a lower interest rate. She never bothered to read the paperwork. And now, that carelessness was going to be her undoing. By the time I got back to my hotel room that evening, my shock had turned into resolve. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. Emily wanted to fight? Fine. She had no idea who she was messing with. The first call I made was to Sarah, my lawyer and longtime friend. I laid out the situation in painstaking detail, my voice calm even as my pulse raced. "She sold the apartment?" Sarah repeated, incredulous. "Does she even realize she can't do that without your consent?" "Apparently not," I said, amusement creeping into my tone. "She thinks she's already spent the money on her new life with Alex." Sarah let out a dry laugh. "Well, she's in for a rude awakening. The sale is invalid. You can prove sole ownership. And if she's taken any money from the buyer, she's on the hook for fraud." The word fraud sent a jolt of satisfaction through me. "What do we need to do?" I asked. "First, we notify the buyer that the sale isn't legal," Sarah said. "Then we draft a formal letter for Emily outlining the consequences of her actions. If she's dumb enough to try anything else, we'll take her to court." As I hung up, a strange sense of calm settled over me. Emily thought she'd outsmarted me, thought she'd left me powerless and scrambling. But in reality, she'd just set herself up for the ultimate humiliation. I spent the rest of the trip focusing on my work, compartmentalizing my emotions, and channeling my energy into the task ahead. The betrayal hurt, but the prospect of reclaiming my life and watching Emily's smugness crumble gave me a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in months. When I boarded the plane home, I was ready to face Emily, ready to dismantle her lies, and ready to start a new chapter without her. The flight home gave me hours to think about how everything had unraveled. Emily's arrogance was astounding. She hadn't even tried to hide her betrayal, as if I was just another inconvenience she could brush aside. But instead of getting lost in the anger, I focused on what I was going to do next. She thought I was powerless. She had no idea I'd been playing the long game without even realizing it. The moment I touched down, I called Sarah. "I'm back," I said, hauling my suitcase off the luggage carousel. "What's the next step?" "We already notified the buyer," she replied, her tone brisk and efficient. They were shocked, to say the least, and not too happy with Emily. They're willing to cooperate, which helps our case. And Emily? I sent a formal letter to her email this morning, she said. It outlines the legality of the sale, your sole ownership of the apartment, and the potential consequences of fraud. She hasn't responded yet, but if I had to guess, she's going to be furious. Good. Let her stew. When I got home, the apartment was eerily quiet. Emily's things were still there, her jackets draped over the chair, her shoes carelessly tossed by the door. But the place felt different, like the energy had shifted. I set my suitcase down, knowing that the confrontation would come soon enough. Sure enough, she stormed in that evening, face red with anger, her phone clutched in her hand. "What the hell is this?" she shouted, waving the letter Sarah had sent. "You're telling me I can't sell the apartment? It's half mine." "No, Emily," I said calmly, crossing my arms. "It's not. The deed has been in my name for months. You can't sell something you don't own." She froze, her face a mix of confusion and rage. "What are you talking about?" I grabbed the deed from a file I'd pulled earlier, holding it up for her to see. After we refinanced, I had the deed transferred to my name. You signed off on it, remember? Or did you just skim the paperwork like you always do? For a moment, she said nothing. Then her expression twisted into a sneer. "You think you're so smart, don't you? This doesn't change anything. I already made a deal, and you're going to look like a fool when it all falls apart." I stared at her, unblinking. "The sale is already void, Emily. The buyer knows it, and they're ready to take legal action if you don't return the money." I took a step closer, lowering my voice. "And speaking of money, if you spend a single cent of that deposit, you're in even bigger trouble." Emily's confidence wavered for the first time. "You don't know what you're talking about," she muttered, avoiding my gaze. "Oh, I know exactly what I'm talking about," I said, my voice steady. "You've spent years treating me like I'm too naive to notice what you're doing. But guess what, Emily? I've been paying attention. And now you're going to deal with the consequences." Over the next few days, Emily's fury turned into desperation. She called me repeatedly, leaving frantic voicemails that swung between pleading and threatening. "Nick, you're being ridiculous. Just talk to me, okay? We can work something out. You're going to regret this. You can't just screw me over like this." I ignored every single message. She wasn't worth a response. Meanwhile, Sarah was working behind the scenes, ensuring every legal avenue was covered. The buyer had already rescinded the agreement, furious at Emily for wasting their time and money. And Sarah was drafting preliminary paperwork for divorce. "You're in a good position, Nick," she told me during one of our meetings. "Emily has no leverage here. Between the voided sale and the fraud charges hanging over her head, she's going to have to cooperate if she wants to avoid a bigger mess." That was music to my ears. For years, I had ignored the signs, let her arrogance slide, let her take advantage of me. Not anymore. This was my moment to take everything back. Lauren, my best friend, came over one evening to help me start reorganizing the apartment. We boxed up Emily's things, stacking them neatly in a corner of the living room. "How's she taking all this?" Lauren asked, holding up one of Emily's overpriced designer scarves with a smirk. "Not well," I admitted, chuckling despite myself. "She's still convinced she can manipulate her way out of this. But I'm not budging." "Good," she said, tossing the scarf into a box. "She doesn't deserve a damn inch of your space or your time." I nodded, feeling a strange sense of gratitude. For so long, I had felt alone in my marriage, carrying the emotional and financial burden while Emily basked in the spotlight. But now, I had people in my corner, and that made all the difference. The final piece of my plan fell into place the day Emily brought Alex to the apartment. I was sitting at the dining table, reviewing some paperwork, when I heard the front door open. Emily and Alex walked in like they owned the place. She looked smug, her arm looped through his, as if parading him in front of me was supposed to make me jealous. "So, this is where we're staying?" she said, her voice dripping with entitlement as she looked around. I stood up, my heart pounding but my resolve unshaken. "No," I said firmly. "This is where Tyler was staying. You, Alex, won't be staying here at all." Her smile faltered, and she glanced at Alex, who looked just as stunned. "What is this?" he demanded. "You can't just... This," I interrupted, gesturing the apartment around me, "is my home. Not yours, not hers, and definitely not some love nest for you two." Emily's expression hardened. "You're being unreasonable, Nick. We just need some time to figure things out." I let out a short laugh. "Oh, like how you gave me time to figure things out when you called me and told me you were divorcing me and selling my apartment behind my back. You didn't just betray me, Emily. You tried to ruin me. So no, I'm not interested in helping you figure things out." Alex crossed his arms. "You said this was your apartment," he muttered to Emily, his voice tinged with suspicion. "That you sold it." Her face paled slightly. "It's complicated, babe. Oh, it's not complicated. I cut in smoothly. Emily tried to sell an apartment she didn't own. That sale? It's void. And since she already spent the deposit, she's now looking at a fraud charge if she doesn't get that money back." Alex's jaw tightened. "Wait, you mean the money you told me you had?" He trailed off, realization dawning on him. "Oh my God, did you lie about that too?" Emily reached for his arm, but he jerked away. "Alex, I can explain." "No need," I said with a smirk. "I think you just figured it out." Emily turned back to me, her expression crumbling into pure desperation. "Nick, please. I know I messed up, but you can't just throw me out. We were together for 6 years. That has to mean something. You threw me out the moment you made that phone call." I said coldly. "You told me you were divorcing me and laughed about me having to find a new place to live. Now you know how that feels." Alex, disgusted, shook his head. "I'm not getting dragged into your mess, Emily." Without another word, he turned and walked out, slamming the door behind him. I watched her stare at the door in shock, and I couldn't help but smile. "Looks like you're on your own." Her shoulders sagged. "Nick, what happens now?" I grabbed a folder from the kitchen counter and tossed it onto the table in front of her. "Divorce papers. My lawyer already drafted them. I suggest you sign quickly. The sooner you do, the sooner we can both move on." She looked at the papers, her face pale. "You really hate me that much?" I let out a bitter laugh. "No, Emily, I don't hate you. I pity you. You had everything. Someone who loved you, a home we built together, and you threw it all away for some guy who just walked out on you. That's not my problem anymore." She opened her mouth to argue, but then stopped, shoulders slumping in defeat. "Fine. I'll go." "Good." I walked toward the door and held it open. "And don't even think about trying anything else. Sarah's already handling everything, and the next time you cross a line, I won't hesitate to let the courts handle it." For the first time, Emily had nothing to say. She grabbed her bag and walked out without another word. The moment the door clicked shut, I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. I stood in the middle of the apartment, taking in the silence, the peace. For the first time in years, I felt like I could finally breathe. Emily thought she had won. She never realized she'd been set up to fail from the start. The silence in the apartment after Emily left was deafening. For the first time in years, I felt something close to peace. No more walking on eggshells. No more second-guessing. No more Emily. Lauren came over that night with takeout and a bottle of whiskey. She plopped onto the couch and handed me a glass. "So, she gone for good?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. I took a sip, letting the warmth settle in my chest. "Yeah," walked out with her tail between her legs. Alex ditched her the second he realized she was broke. Lauren let out a loud laugh. Poetic justice. We toasted to that. And for the first time in a long time, I actually felt like celebrating. Over the next few days, I started reclaiming the apartment piece by piece. Emily's things? Gone. I donated whatever wasn't worth selling and packed up the rest in boxes. Sarah made sure Emily couldn't contest anything in the divorce proceedings. Every legal loophole was locked tight, and Emily was too busy scrambling to save herself to fight it. Sarah called me one evening with an update. "Nick, it's official. The divorce is moving through smoothly. Emily's agreed to sign everything to avoid more legal trouble. She doesn't have a leg to stand on. Hearing the word official sent a wave of relief through me. It wasn't just about the paperwork. It was about everything Emily had taken from me over the years. My time, my energy, my trust. Now I was taking it all back. A few weeks later, I got a text from Emily. "Nick, can we talk? I miss you." I stared at my phone, then let out a dry chuckle. She really thought I was that stupid. I didn't reply. Instead, I blocked her number and moved on with my life. That weekend, Lauren and I hit up a rooftop bar downtown to celebrate. The city lights stretched out around us, and for the first time in years, I felt completely free. "You look different," Lauren said, tilting her head. "Like lighter." I smirked, clinking my glass against hers. "That's because I finally got rid of a dead weight." We laughed, and as the night went on, I realized something. I wasn't just surviving. I was winning. The weeks that followed felt like stepping into a new life. A better one. No more stress. No more Emily. Just freedom. The apartment, once a space filled with tension and resentment, felt like mine again. I redecorated, rearranged the furniture, got rid of every last reminder of her. I even bought a sleek new coffee table, the first piece of furniture that was completely my decision. Something so small, yet it felt like a symbol of everything I had reclaimed. One afternoon, Sarah called with a final update. "Nick, it's done. The divorce is finalized. Emily signed off on everything." I leaned back in my chair, exhaling slowly. "So that's it? I'm officially free?" "Officially," she confirmed. "No loose ends." "She gets nothing." I smirked. Good. That night, Lauren and I hit our favorite rooftop bar again to celebrate. I wasn't in a rush to jump into dating or anything. I wasn't that guy who needed someone to move on. But damn, it felt good to be wanted again. The confidence that had been chipped away over the years was coming back full force. "You know what's crazy?" I said, sipping my drink. "I thought this divorce would break me, but I feel unstoppable." Lauren grinned. "Because you are." Emily thought she could walk all over you. Instead, she walked herself right out of good life. I raised my glass to dodging bullets. We clinked glasses and drank to that. A month later, I got an email from Emily. "Nick, I don't know if you'll ever forgive me, but I just want to say I'm sorry. I didn't realize what I had until I lost it. I don't expect anything from you, but I needed to say it." I stared at the message for a long moment before closing my laptop. She didn't deserve forgiveness. And I didn't owe her a damn thing. I wasn't the same guy she left behind. I had rebuilt my life, my confidence, and my future without her. And damn, it felt good